you guys. That was an outstanding intro. Thank you so much. I'm incredibly honored to be here. Thank you to Eden for reaching out to me. I think it was about 6 months ago, and I drove out here and met him and saw this beautiful space. I almost saw it as this forest sanctuary with this ceiling and the lighting. I just fell in love. And then getting to work with Eden over the past few months has been a real joy. He's wonderful and really let me have my freedom in here, but gave me direction when I needed it. And thank all of you for coming out and spending time on this Wednesday afternoon to hear me speak about this body and combination of work I have created. So I'd like to share just a brief history about myself. Interesting fact, I was born in Texas City. I know. I thought Eden knew that when he asked me, and he did not. And then I grew up in Sugar Land, Texas, not too far from here. And I would say I was always a pretty creative child, but I also played highly competitive soccer for most of my life. So a lot of my time and energy went into that, and I went on to play in college. I started at Texas Tech and ended up transferring to Stephen F. Austin State University, where I did not know that I was going to be in the arts. I started taking some art classes, and it just all felt right. And then around my sophomore to junior year, I had a career-ending injury that all of my passion and focus started shifting from the arts from soccer into the arts, and I fell in love. My parents told me that you will not be able to probably survive off of being an artist right out of college, so you need to figure something else out. Well, I love teaching as well. So I went into arts education, and I got my BFA in arts education and a focus in painting. And then I went on and taught elementary art for a couple of years. It was beautiful, just seeing how these kids worked so freely. But it also wore me out. 500 kids dipping their hands in paint, and you're trying to teach them how to be a human. I would not take it back, but I knew I wanted to study, or I wanted to teach at a higher level and also push my art. So I started Googling art programs with an MFA program in Houston, and I reached out to a man, I don't know if any of you know him, he was supposed to be here, but something happened in the family, by Michael Collins, and he got back to me. He kind of took me under his wing and taught me a lot even before I came into the program, and helped me with my work. And then I enrolled in the program, and I went in as a painter, and I came out as I would say a sculptor and a painter. That's the beauty of grad school and really art school, is that what you're curious about, explore it. Take those classes that you're wondering about, You never know where you may connect, and you can just put another, tool in your pocket. So I started falling in love with sculpture along with 2D work. And then after I graduated, I got hired on to work with both graduate students and undergrad students, which is such a joy. I learned from them probably more than they learned from me. And every semester is different. I teach anywhere from lecture-based classes to studio courses, and I love the balance between teaching and the studio. I live in the Heights area, if y'all are familiar with that, and work out of my home studio. And I have 2 little kids and a wonderful and supportive husband, which is great because it can be an interesting life as an artist. So now I would like to share a bit about the conceptual side behind my work. I'm sure there are questions going on in your minds. And then I would like to get into more my methods and materials and how I create the work. So I wrote a little bit about the conceptual side. Okay, so Voices of Nature brings together sculptures I created between 2017 and 2022, along with newer paintings and drawings. When I look at all of it together, I see that it's really about one central idea: our relationship with nature in the world we live in today. There's a tension in the work. On one side, there's innocence, freedom, and belonging in nature. On the other side, there's distance and disconnection. The horn figures represent that innocence. The horns suggest something instinctual and ancient, a blending of human and animal. They feel free and at home in the natural world, but they are covered in white plastic. That plastic layer represents the contemporary world: synthetic, fast, protective. It creates a barrier. The hollow eyes suggest a kind of loss, not physical blindness, but a loss of deeper awareness and connection. These figures feel like they are both celebrating nature and calling out to us. They aren't angry, they're inviting. They're asking us to remember what it feels like to belong to the natural world. The paintings move more fully into that world. They are about slowing down and paying attention. When you spend time in nature, you begin to notice the layers, how everything connects and depends on each other. Birds appear often in these works. Birds feel important because they are still present in our daily lives, even in cities. They are small but powerful, reminders that nature is still with us. In the newer paintings, thorned vines line throughout the space. That was an important shift for me because nature isn't only gentle or peaceful. It's also wild. It protects itself. It can feel overwhelming or even dangerous. The thorns present that side of nature. They create tension in the paintings. They remind us that reconnecting with the natural world isn't always comfortable. It requires vulnerability. It requires slowing down and letting go of control. The drawings and paintings feed into each other. It's a cycle, much like nature itself. Growth, decay, renewal. At its heart, the show isn't just about forests or animals. It's about that part of us that still responds to them. The part that stops when we see a bird overhead. The part that feels something shift when we step into the woods. The sculptures speak to memory and longing. The paintings speak to immersion and attention. And the vines speak to the truth of wildness. Together, they ask a simple question: are we still listening? Okay, thank you. Okay, so now I'd like to get into a bit about my process. I might steal that tomato cage. You may wonder why I have a tomato cage. Well, I actually learned, does anyone know who Sharon Capriva is? Anyone? If you don't, you should. She's amazing. When I was in grad school, I wanted to come off the canvas, but I didn't know how. I knew I wanted to stay soft with my material because I wanted to be able to treat it like a painting and be able to manipulate it up until the end, because I get a lot of things wrong. And so she came and did a paper mache workshop at our university. And she brought in a tomato cage, and I thought, oh my gosh, what is she doing? And she did a bit of a demo, and then I started building a wolf. And she saw the wolf I built, and she said, I want you to fill a room with wolves. And I think each wolf got probably a little bit better. I understood the material a bit more. But I fell in love with the material. I now see a tomato cage as a skeleton. I see, the backbone. I see the rib cage. I just did an installation at Foltz Fine Art in Houston where I have giant owls. If you get the chance and you're in town, you can drive on Westheimer and see the installation in the window. But you can see if I flip it this way, I can build a head on top of it, and the feathers come down and wings come off. If I flip it this way, it becomes the body of the wolf. The figures have a tomato cage in them as well. This started with a smart water bottle, smart water, and then I built around it. So I love using found objects, materials that are around, lightweight, so I can make large ones. And then I work a lot with machés, plasters, drippy. I want that painterly feel in my sculptures. And then I coat them in enamels and in resins. And some of my more recent sculptures have actually started to add more color to them. The scene that's on Westheimer is primarily white because it's supposed to feel cold. But I've done a lot of other stuff where color, like many of these paintings, started to enter the picture as well. And then with my drawings, I had the question, I gave a talk on Saturday about, do I do, a drawing before I do a sculpture to know, how I'm going to approach it? I am very impulsive, and usually I see someone I'm connecting with. And usually it's what's around, right? Like if I have the space to make a sculpture or I can't get a 3D form out of my head, I know I need to listen to that and I'll go do it. But if I'm struggling with the anatomy of something, I usually go back to drawing. I hit the drawing board to kind of figure it out and tweak it. And then the painting, I really explore layers like I can explore in my sculptures. So I would say there's not a set, sequence of when I do something, but one definitely feeds the other. And then I love this great experience to get to put it all together and see how it speaks together, even from work, from 5 years ago, how it still connects to what I'm saying today. Thank you, guys. It means so much. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you so much.